But there are some people who are coming to my platform and they continuously eating the food. Now, what is it? Do you like the food, but you really don't like it? Like, y'all remember the SpongeBob episode when Squidward told SpongeBob, like, I don't want no Krabby Patty, I don't want no Krabby Patty. And then he tried the Krabby Patty and told SpongeBob, this is the most horrible, putrid, undesirable, went in on SpongeBob. Worst Krabby Patty, worst food he ever tasted in his life. SpongeBob leaves, sad, the man digging up the Krabby Patty. Still alive, so delicious, all the wasted years. I'm like, is that what it is? Like, you just can't come to terms with liking the food? Like, man, this nigga over here posting this good ass content.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Omnist podcast. This is episode 72. We're gonna do a little bit of a split or switcheroony here. We're gonna be dealing with a topic, and then we're gonna be dealing with questions. I think I got like a good amount of questions. I think I got about maybe for the people who who cared to put a question in there. I think I got over 20 questions. But some of them were already constantly asked, or some of them were already asked like a couple of times and stuff like that. So, I got a good amount of questions that came in. So we're going to try and go over them, and I'm going to try and like talk about them within a limit of like maybe like 40 minutes, 40 to 50 minutes that I have right now. So we're going to see how that plays out. Okay. Anyways, hope everybody been doing good, For those who've been supporting my content and all the other type of stuff, let me let people know. I'm gonna put this in the pin, so for when people come in, they be like, "Who is he talking to?" Let people know that I'm recording my podcast episode. I think this is episode 72, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is episode 72. Miss Bianca's in the building. Tone Immortal. What's good? Somebody said is Lord. They trying to have my my whole thing taken down. Killer season going great. Lord have mercy. What's good, Asar? Anyways, let's deal with the first topic. There was a girl who was in my in my DMs a couple of days ago, and they were asking me about like how to deal with unconscious men. Now you good? You good, Huey? There was a woman in my podcast, or I keep saying that, a woman in my DMs. She was asking me about unconscious men and how to deal with them, and I told her that I was going to deal with this in my podcast, just to talk about it, because I have a lot of female associates, or I have a lot of women in my circle, and so I get a lot of information in terms of like how women think and in terms of relationships from women that I have talked to, or women who be in my circle, or women that I have dated or went out on dates with or went to school with and stuff like that. So, it varies. So I have a little bit of a experience with how women think when it concerns like how they see things and how they go about certain things and all the other type of stuff. All right. But, she was asking me about like how to deal with conscious men, because like there are some unconscious men out here, how to deal with unconscious men, because there are some men out here who might look good. They have it going on, decent job where they working up, on their goals, and they have a good vision, but they cannot conceive the notion of who they are, right? They can't conceive the notion of spirituality, or if you deal with witchcraft, or shout out to the black witches in the chat, or who may be watching, and they might get a little spooked out that you might do some rituals in the morning, or that you have your own altar, or that you deal with crystals, or that you deal with tarot cards, or you talk to your ancestors, or you astral project. You do yoga. There are some Negroes out here, believe it or not, that think doing yoga is evil or demonic or whatever you may have. Lord, these comments get me. I'm gonna go around, long live the black hole is the first home. Indeed. And we love black pussy. All right. Hey, what's good, Queen? Queen Nearly magazine. But yeah, she was asking me like how to deal with unconscious men. Now, I don't date men. I don't sway that way. All right. You leave that for the Europeans over there in the rainbow section. All right. So I don't sway that way. I can't really tell her how to deal with men, particularly in a relationship. But I can tell her how to deal with unconscious people, dealing with relationships. And in the past, for those who were there, for those who watched, my past podcast episode, I talked about how I was dealing with a Christian woman back in college, right? And me and her, we was hitting it off, and we was getting together, and we was in class and all those type of stuff. And long story short, it didn't work out because she found out that I had different sets of beliefs, okay, and things of that nature. All right, so all that need to say is you can't compromise with unconscious people in a relationship. It's different if you're dealing with people who may not know and they're willing to learn. It's different when you're dealing with people who just refuse to grasp what you're trying to say. And some people, it's going to take a little bit more time for them to get it. And you and I both know a lot of us do not have the time of day to teach a person ABC 1, 2, 3 and the fundamentals of spirituality. Okay. And I had to learn that the hard way. There are some people who just will never get it. And that's something that you have to acknowledge or be mindful of. So if you try to break it down or be, fundamental with somebody on a spiritual level, and they're like, what you say? You just need to hit the exit. All right. You just need to go to the exit on the left. Because at that point, there's nothing you could do for them. And I know, for the fellas, we might run into a nice woman and she's all nice and grand and she might do this. She might even have an ankh tattoo. She might even have an ankh tattoo. And in this spiritual community, the spiritual women and men, but especially the women, they treat ankhs like how Christian women treat crosses. Okay. When I see a woman that have an ankh, it don't faze me anymore. It may have fazed me back in like 2017 when everybody was like, oh, black is beautiful, black girl magic, black excellence, all that type of stuff, right? That may have got me when I was 18. I'm 24. It don't faze me. There are some women out here who got the ankhs, they got the tarot cards, they got the crystals, and you'll see them walking out here with Timmy and Todd and Dirty Dan. They over here talking about, oh yes, black power and power to the people and spirituality and all this type of stuff. They might be 1-on-1 with you when it comes to like, your spirituality and your God in the flesh and black is beautiful and being 9 ether. They might give you the whole 9. And as soon as you walk out of the building, as soon as you walk out of the room, as soon as y'all done with the conversation, this is my girlfriend Charlotte. And you like, how'd that work? There's some people out here who are flexing like they Malcolm X. And then as soon as they leave the building, they out here like OJ. I don't understand it. Now, at the end of the day, like whether you're a black woman or a black man, you want to have your little fun. you do you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to judge you. You know, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, you know, you can't be speaking in one way and then doing another, right? Now, you know, it varies, and spirituality has different levels, and consciousness has different levels, and you know, you could be somebody for black women, but you're not going to limit yourself to just black women. Like I said, there's levels to consciousness and all this other type of stuff, right? And I want to make a disclaimer: don't come on my page thinking that, you know, I'm like somebody who's gonna, like, you know, fully push black empowerment or pro-blackness. Okay. On my perspective, even though that is a good ideology and I'm willing to hear it out, I have seen, you know, I've seen the basis or the blueprint of that, and it's just, it don't hold up in this day and age. It might hold up someday, but black power or pro-black doesn't hold up. Okay, so don't come to my page. Now, this page is for black people. Okay, my content, I primarily make it for black people, but I do allow other people to come to my platform so that they can learn, you know, on their own spiritual journey, whatever the case is. I don't care. I don't mind. Just know your role and stay in your lane. Okay, like, for an example, like, I have a couple of Hispanic people that follow me. I have a couple of Asiatic people that follow me. That's fine. You know, some of them are even cool. But if I make some content where I'm talking about black issues, or I'm talking about like how black people should relate to spirituality, and you come out in the blue works talking about, well, I don't think it just depends on who, if you're black or not. I think spirituality is just no. Now, I might just leave it be, because the people who follow me are going to eat you alive. The people who follow me, when they see your comment, they are going to eat you alive. Okay, so don't expect me to support you or try to defend you, because we may have had a couple of conversations here and there. You should have known your role. And there are some people who follow me who are, you know, they're non-black and they know their role. They like the content. I've had some white boy. Surprisingly enough, I've had some white boys, some white women who have come to my platform and was like, I support you. That's very interesting, though. How, like, other races of people can come to my platform and they can appreciate me being unapologetic. But my own people, and I'm not talking about just like my own people as in black people, but like, I have cousins, I have people that I went to school with, and they have came across my platform, you know, in the past, and they calling me a racist. They calling me this, that, and the third. They saying that I'm bugged out. But the people, non-black people, white women especially, they feel comfortable on my platform, even when that don't click to me. How do other sets of people, they have the intelligence to decipher from, you know, ideologies to what they can gain through information? You know what I mean? Like, I can listen to different sets of people and get whatever I need to get out of that knowledge or that message and run with it. You know, that's what an intellectual person can do. And that just, it don't make sense how you have some black people, as soon as they hear a message like mine, all of a sudden they over here praying for me, telling me to repent. Yeah, that is very funny how that works. Let me get to some of y'all comments. You have to tell people that that think to shut up. I only speak to people that know. You have to tell people I only speak to people. Well, to that last part, I got a little confused at the first part, but the last part is true. Because something that I sincerely live by is Dr. John Henry Clark, saying how, you know, he only debate with his equals, and everybody else he teaches. You know, and like, I've had people. Matter of fact, I had a question that came in which we won't get to it in a second, but I had a question that came in talking about like I'm running from him. Some spooked out Negro, I don't know what it is. Somebody said that I was trying to run from them from a conversation about God and spirituality, saying that I've been misleading black people into worshiping the devil. Now, this is something that I don't understand, is how, if I don't believe in God, how the hell can I worship the devil? I don't understand that. If I don't believe in God, what makes you think that me serving the devil validates me not believing it? That don't make sense. That's not adding up. And some of them just don't put A, B, and C together. Okay, they go from A to M, and I'm just like, how you go from A to M? It don't make sense. Church has our people indoctrinated. Most definitely. I had a conversation with him. Everything we know is wrong. Conversation with who? But yeah. I had a conversation, or I didn't have a conversation. I had one of these questions come up about, they're running from, and I'm running from him because I don't want to have the debate about God. Like, I don't mind having conversations, and I rarely get on live as it is. I'm trying to get more into getting live and going live because, some people, they actually appreciate me going live and sharing my thoughts and stuff like that. But I just think it's a waste of time to go live and argue about whether or not God is real, right? Somebody asked me in my DMs about like, why won't you defend what you believe in? Because there's nothing to defend. What do I have to defend? I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I don't believe in a religion. I don't believe in a God. I don't have to defend anything. Could you imagine arguing with a math teacher about algebra, and the algebra teacher's like, listen, you obviously don't know the formulas, so I'm not going to have this discussion with you. Or what's the matter, math teacher? You don't want to defend math? You don't want to defend algebra? Fam, you don't even know the formulas. Why? If you don't know the math formulas to try and put the algebra problems together, why am I going to argue with you about algebra and you never even studied the formulas? That's how I see that. I'm not going to argue with somebody about God and Jesus coming back. You believing in these fairy tale, characters that are just supposed to be symbols of yourself. You're not even getting that. You still think Jesus is real, and you want me to argue with you on, my personal time on social media, on this platform that I get money from, that I make money from, and argue with you about Jesus? What? No. And see, that's why I made a meme where I was telling people, I was like, if you want to have an ongoing debate with me on Instagram, you got to hit that cash out. I know I said $200, but it might be $250. It might be $250. If you want to have an open debate with me on live, because that's just not a worthy debate to have. I'm not going to argue with you about entities that don't exist. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. Anyways, to get back on point, right? How to deal with unconscious men, or how to deal with unconscious people. There's not a way really to deal with them. If you see, it's one thing if you see potential in somebody, like if you have a conversation with somebody and you can recognize that they are enlightened, right? That's one thing. It's another thing when, it's another thing when you can recognize that they are long gone. Okay, you have a conversation with somebody who is not aware of themselves or just unconscious, and that's just how it is. That's just what it's gonna be, and you just got to keep it moving. David Koresh, I hope I said that right. David Koresh says, niggas love Jesus and hate themselves. Or they love them some Jesus. Boy, Negroes love them some Jesus. The reason he was sent here was because live what said to be given to them. However, the power over him denied that we are set. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, that is facts, David. That is definitely facts. A lot of black people are willing to put entities over themselves, especially entities that don't look like them. Like, it's one thing, I can't even let it slide if it was Black Jesus, but I can understand, right? I can understand if you know deep down in your heart, like, that God is black and that's how you see it. Like, I can't advocate for it, but I understand it, right? But there's like 99% of black people who are Christians and subconsciously see God as white. And I don't think black people understand the detriment of that, you know? And some people, you know, when you get to a certain level of like consciousness and spirituality, whether Jesus was black or white, it don't matter as long as you understand the principle. Blah. But on a realistic level, like what we're dealing with black people, you have to deal with it. You have to deal with the symbology and the ideology of white Jesus, right? Now, when you deal with the average Christian, the average black Christian, they're going to tell you that it doesn't matter if God was white, black, blue, green, purple, yellow, as long as he died for my sins. And that's just one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life. Now, I used to believe it at one point, but then somebody raised a question up as I got older. If it doesn't matter what Jesus' color was, why did they change his formation? Why did they change his image? And imagery is power, and the world runs by symbols. You are programmed through symbols. When you use words, like each individual word is a symbol. Each one, when you see certain symbols, instantly you think of an image. You think of a phrase, right? Red robins. You hear red robins, yum. Like, if I say McDonald's, ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm loving, so like, that's how powerful symbolism is. Where it's even in our subconscious at this point, like you could just see the McDonald's symbol and now you can think back on a time where you went to McDonald's or certain experiences or the food. You might even taste the food, it's that deep. That's how powerful symbols are. So think about like being raised up in the church all your life. You come across or somebody who's been in the church for like 35, 40 years. All their life, they always saw Jesus or God as a white man. Now what? You can't tell them otherwise. And that's how the world runs. That's in their world. That's what is truth. And it's unfortunate. Red and yellow makes you hungry. I learned that in, I think I learned that in business class in high school. I think I learned that in business class in high school. Like certain colors that they use. Certain colors that they use in the symbols. That's why you have Wendy's, red, yellow. Arby's, red. Burger King in some places. All that type of stuff. But yeah. There's no real way to deal with unconscious people. If you truly see potential in somebody, you go through the phases with them and stuff like that. If you want to, if you see potential in them, you could be the reason, you could be that person on their journey to wake them up, but don't automatically think that you're going to be that guy, because you're not that guy. Okay? You may not be that guy or that person to wake them up. So please be aware of that. Okay. Now on to the video that I saw on somebody that I know. They was talking about, like, beware of people that you beware of people that you mess with that don't mess with you, basically, right? And Rick Ross was talking about, like, when you go on social media, or like when you promote your business, or when you promote content, or whatever the case is, like, beware of the people that, don't support you, or that don't go out of their way to, shout you out, or share your content, or just like put on their stories, right? You might have people that you mess with, or that you think mess with you, and like every day they posting like 20 stories, 20 to 30 memes and stuff like that, and not one of them has your content. If you're a content creator, or if you're a business, they supporting everybody else. They even supporting people that they don't even know, or even better, don't know them. They support celebrities and people that those celebrities don't even know they exist. And yet they won't even give you not even a shout out, just to share your content, or just to share your products. Like, they can't even do that, but they'll 20 to 30 posts on their story every day. Facebook, Instagram, whatever the case is. And I'm not saying that people that are obligated to support you, but you have to, like, scratch your head a little bit and be like, how is it you could support all these other people and you don't support me? Oh, well, your stuff just don't be coming up on my especially if you're a consistent content creator, or if you're somebody who posts consistently. You just got to scratch your head like, I don't be popping up on your page. Now, it's one thing if you get shadow banned, right? I've been shadow banned a couple of times, so I can understand that. I'm not speaking on my behalf, or I'm not speaking about me, but I do know some people, who are up and coming content creators, and they getting into the ropes of, like, learning how to put stuff together, learning how to make content. Maybe they want to start a clothing brand and stuff like that. Like, and even when people ask me, you know what I'm saying? Like, could you give me a quick shout out? Or like, if somebody genuinely asks me, that's no problem. Generally, they would have to pay a little bit of a fee, whatever the case is, all that type of stuff. But some people, like, if they cool with me, like, if they've been knowing me for a while, and they're like, I'm starting something up, I like, say less. That's just the type of person that I am. But there are some people, like, you out here doing good, you increasing, you get on the rise up, and then jealousy kicks in. And I've seen this happen, right? And I've experienced this, like, internally, and I immediately shut it down, right? Because there were some people that I used to know back in the day, as soon as their posts were rising, and now they getting on the big scenes, and now people are starting to notice them. I started to feel this weird feeling. I'm like, what is that feeling? I'm like, I shouldn't be feeling bad. I shouldn't feel, jealousy, or like, oh, he think he all big and bad. I was like, this is somebody that I genuinely mess with. And that's exactly what it was. It was ego. And I don't know if for people who are watching here and for people who are watching there, but we may know somebody, or we may have been that person to be egotistical. We may have been that person to be Cain to Abel, not being your brother's keeper, So, like, stuff like that, like seeing people around you get on the rise up, or on the come up, and then you don't want to support them because you don't want them to do better than you. That is a low. That is a low down. That is very low down. I can't really quote from verbatim what Kendrick Lamar says, right? But Kendrick Lamar said in the interview that he never gets jealous when his homies are on the rise up, or whatever the case is, because if they win, we all win, basically. And that's how we have to start looking at it, right? One of the things that we have an issue with when it concerns us as a people is ego. People egos get a little too big, and they start to see you either as a threat, or they start to get insecure about themselves because you getting bigger. And it should never be seen that way. Everybody should be coming up on the rise up. Or if you see somebody that you mess with on the rise up, find out a way to fit into the spotlight with them. Don't try and take them out of the spotlight. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people get mad, like, how the whole thing about like being the leader, or people coming together and now they're trying to find a leader and stuff like that. And some people don't deem as one person being of a leader than another person. Everybody should want to be a leader, first off. But ego gets in the way. In order to be a leader, you have to first learn to be a follower. And so if you see somebody that you mess with on the come up, learn from them. Learn, well, what is it about them that's getting them this increase? Instead of hating on them, ask them like, yo, how you got all these followers? How you got all this? And they might genuinely give you a 1-to-1 session on how you can be on the rise. But you hating in the corner, you still going to be stagnant. They still going to continue to rise up, and you preying on their downfall. And that's another thing that you got to notice. You got to recognize people who are preying on your downfall. And for me, I've like increased in following in my platform in the past year, right? Matter of fact, last year I just hit 10K last year. So now I'm almost at 18K. I'm almost at 20K on Instagram. And like, even though I have a lot of followers, like, I never know who's in the cut and who's just waiting for me to fall. Excuse me. I never know. I know there's a lot of people who don't like me. I understand that. And I take that with a smile, because it didn't take me overnight to try and like have this type of confidence. You're not late, versatile, if you're still here, about the 304s. We're gonna be dealing with that in a second, but we're dealing with a couple of topics before we get into that. But you got to be very aware of the people who are in the cut. All right, like, you ever have people, for those who are like content creators and stuff like that, if you post something controversial, or if you post something where like there's a lot of like mix, there's a diversity of comments and opinions and stuff like that, you ever notice there are certain people that come out of the cut to like hate on you? Like you ever notice there be some people in the cut that really go out of their way to really try and come at you? Like they find this one exact moment to try and bring down your character. For me, is if I talk about like spiritual stuff, or if I talk about the sexual stuff, or if I talk about the 304s, the sacred whore, and there's a whole diversity of comments and stuff like that. And because there's so many comments, they're like, well, let me put in my input. I'm like, this is what motivates you to comment on my platform? You've been following me for like 1 to 2 years. You don't comment when I post something good. You don't comment when I share another person's page or platform. You don't comment when I post about my workout journey or some memes or some motivation. Your motivation to comment and share my posts is to hate on it. I find that to be very, very suspicious. Like, that's it. It's a vibe where I have to look at a person funny, and I have to keep them in the back of my head, like, that person. Yeah, that person, I can't rock with that person. Because if you always come out when somebody tries to come at me sideways, or, I know people, there are certain people where like, I have a visual memory, right? So like, some people faces I'll recognize by profile. Like, if somebody says something to attack my character, and I look at the likes, and I see people who follow me and they don't comment. They never give me props when they agree with me, but they definitely gonna be the first one there when people are trying to come at my head. I gotta check them off. I'm like, Oh, yeah. Let me that person definitely not cool in my book no more. It's one thing to to disagree. I don't mind disagreeing. It's another thing when people are trying to attack you straight on, head on. Okay, a couple of people are saying like I thought they were bots. Well, some of them are bots, right? Some of them are bots, and I just leave it be. There are some people who've been following me for like a good amount of time, right? And they just always come back, and they could be bots. I'm not gonna disagree and say they're not bots, but there are some people who've been following me for like a good while. I'm talking about like 1 to 2 years. The message ain't never changed, right? The message have never changed, but they always come back with the same energy, and I appreciate the same energy. All right, I appreciate the keeping the same energy, but it's like I use this example in one of my YouTube videos. Like, if I go to a restaurant and I don't like the food, I'm not gonna go back a second time to see if the food got better. If the food is just completely bad, I may never go back to that restaurant ever again. But there are some people who are coming to my platform and they continuously eating the food. Now, what is it? Do you like the food, but you really don't like it? Like, y'all remember the SpongeBob episode when Squidward told SpongeBob, like, I don't want no Krabby Patty. I don't want no Krabby Patty. And then he tried the Krabby Patty and told SpongeBob, this is the most horrible, putrid, undesirable, all this type of stuff, going in on SpongeBob. The worst Krabby Patty, worst food he ever tasted in his life. SpongeBob leaves, sad. The man digging up the Krabby Patty. Still alive. So delicious. All the wasted years. I'm like, is that what it is? Like, you just can't come to terms with liking the food? Like, man, this nigga over here posting this good ass content. I know what I be posting. And there are some men that think and we're gonna deal with that in the questions. Some men that think that I shape and shift a certain image about like sexuality and the whore energy and stuff like that, when they really like it. And that deals with the ego as well. Like, a lot of men can't just accept that they love the hoes. They love the hoes. A lot of men just can't accept that they like a 304. Now, not every 304 can be cuffed. Okay? So when I say you can turn a 304 into a housewife, that doesn't mean you get the first one on the block. I would think that's A, B, and C, 1, 2, 3, but evidently some niggas are dumb. Just to keep it elementary. Some people are just dumb. And they think that when I tell people that they could turn a 304 into a housewife, that it means that, oh, we're just supposed to get the number one hot girl. You telling me I can turn Suki Hana into a house? That's not what I said. But what I'm saying is that you want a girl who can turn you inside out in the bedroom. That's what every man wants. And I'm telling the women, that's what the men want. So, things of that nature, that's what men want. All right, let's deal with the Q&As. Where do people come from? Intentionally keen. All right, waving at everybody. All right, let's deal with the questions. And of course, everybody's going to always ask me this, so I don't mind asking or answering it, because people are always going to ask this. Get comfortable in my chair. But of course, they ask me, what is the holy whore archetype? And so for those who, I got this all in a slide and stuff like that, okay? But they asked me, what is the holy whore archetype that you speak of? And, I always got to bring this up and reiterate it and, give people a summary of it, because there's always new people coming, right? And this page is going to keep increasing. and I'm eventually gonna buck heads with other bigger content creators and stuff like that, and that's fine and dandy. All right, but I'm not gonna be debating and arguing with them and stuff like that. They can do that on their own platform. But so the holy whore archetype, right? And for those who follow me on Patreon, y'all already know what it is. All right. But this archetype is just dealing with the wild feminine energy that women have, right? Now, men have, the incubus energy as well, but it's more accepted by men than it is by women. And we're going to be dealing with that in a second too, because somebody put on my page, somebody said in one of my comment sections, we're going to be dealing with the comments about like the wild woman archetype, and like how people have been suppressing that wild woman archetype as well. Appreciated Mr. Ghetto Messiah. Appreciate your content. Alleviate social media of religious indoctrination. I appreciate that. But yeah, the holy whore archetype is, first of all, it's not an occupation. So I'm not telling people to go out and be 304s. I'm not telling people to go out and just be ridiculous with their cooter cat. That's not the purpose of what it means to be the holy whore. Okay, the holy whore is a healer. The holy whore is an initiator. She's a priestess. And she's a charmer. She's a seducer. She's a dancer. She's a mother. She's many things. She's a teacher. She's an oracle. She's a visionary. So first we have to break down the word whore, right? And the word whore on a ancient and a spiritual aspect is not the same as when we're dealing with it on a physical plane. Now, it may have a little bit to do with that, but it is not as big on the spectrum as what it originally means. The holy harlot or the holy whore was somebody who contained the light, or somebody who contained the keys to the kingdom, or the one who was the portal, or the doorway from the physical to the spiritual, in terms of like mysticism and opening up your consciousness to what they may call the third heaven, right? And so it was through these holy priestesses or through these holy whores that a man could attain godhood, and when you have this whole romanticism of going in between the legs of a woman, you have baptism, right? Baptism is when you go in between the legs of the mother goddess. When Jesus was having a discussion with Nicodemus about how a man must be born again in order to enter the kingdom, Nicodemus was like, do I have to go back into my mother's womb? And he wasn't getting the gesture of what Jesus was talking about. So you have to go through the divine feminine. You have to understand the divine feminine. You have to go through the darkness to get to the light. And that's what Jesus was talking about. So this archetype has nothing to do intentionally or directly to do with how many men that you sleep in bed with. You can just be with one man throughout your whole life and be considered a whore. You don't even have to mess with anybody. You could just be completely innocent. And it's just based off of like what you wear and how you carry yourself, character wise, that a woman is considered a whore. Okay, so it's not pressed or directly pressed on sexuality. Okay, it's dealing with something on a higher spectrum. But of course, when we see the word whore, that's what we think of. Came in at the right time. Watch Brody every day. Keep grinding. Thank you. I hope I can say your name right. Laku Kimbo. But thank you. I appreciate that. What's good, Natty? But yeah, hopefully I answered that correctly. Hopefully I for those who who wanted to know about why I advocate for the holy whore, hopefully that sums up the archetype. The next question is, can you turn a hoe into a housewife? You most definitely can turn a whore into a housewife. What's the crazy thing is that there's a lot of men who are man whores, and they can turn into a husband. They can be husband material. But somehow a woman, when she goes out through her whole phase and does what she does out here, she can't be turned into a housewife. That's backwards. That's that's backwards. That don't make sense. You can't be out here talking about you want to turn a hoe, or you want to be with somebody who's righteous and modest, but you want to turn her into a freak. But what if that righteous woman isn't the perception of a freak that you may want her to be, right? You've had all these experiences with women, and now you're trying to shape and mold this woman into the woman that shaped you. That don't make sense. How are you going to shape the righteous woman, the righteous and chaste woman, into being what the number one, the nastiest, freakiest 304 woman that you could think in the top of your head? You might as well just go for a nice woman who's clearly a freak out here and build with her. Because there's a lot of women out here who might be, I'm talking about they running through men. But as soon as they meet the right one, they'll settle down. They'll settle down. Now, some men, they can't think that far. Because they can't think that far, due to their consciousness, they are limited on the type of women that they can actually have access to. You know? So it's kind of like when you hear women out, excuse me, when you hear women out here talking about, like, where's the good men? It's the same thing with the men. Like when the men be out here, like, we're the good women out here. We're the fine feminine black women out here. They running away from your ass, nigga. They are running far, far away. Far away. Because your energy is what you give off. You know, you over here making content, reposting content about how there's no good women out here, modern day women. Do you really think a good woman's gonna want you? No. They don't want nothing to do with you if you going by, because a good woman is not concerned about modern men, modern women, what you bring to the table. A good woman is not concerned with that. That's not in her vernacular. You so focused on that, and you turning good women away just based off of your character. You got to do some reevaluation on what a good woman actually wants from you, and not what you can get out of a woman. It is what it is. Anyways, you most definitely can turn a hoe into a housewife. Hopefully I answered that. What really are the beta and alpha male archetypes? This is a good question. I wished I would have I wish I would have had some notes and some stuff to back this up. But things that I could think off the top of my head, like when you're dealing with like an alpha male archetypes, you know, the king, the warrior, the scribe, the teacher. Those are like alpha male archetypes. When you're dealing with like beta male, the fool, and that's aside from the jester, because I'm a jester archetype. But like the fool, in terms of the one who always messes up, who's always clumsy, the one that's always like outed for like his foolishness, you know, that type of fool. The one who is the coward, the one who always backs out, the one who always feel like he can't accomplish things and stuff like that. What's another beta male archetype? And I'm only using alpha and beta because that's what was in the question. I don't really use alpha and beta in my vocabulary. Another beta male archetype, and y'all could name some if y'all could think of any. That's what I could think of. Oh, the simp. The simp isn't really an archetype of in mythology, but the simp might just go in alignment with like the coward or the fool. The assistant could be alpha male. Everybody needs, you know, a companion. You know, Batman needs Robin. Can the alpha male be selfish, but he knows what he is doing in his space by pursuing his goal? He can. That's when we're dealing with priorities. You know, everybody has to have priorities. You know, if you feel like, you know, you need to take a certain set of amount of time out to deal with women or to deal with yourself and accomplish your goal and then pursue women, have at it. There's nothing wrong with that. Some men can juggle both. Some men can pursue their goal while also getting women. Some men, they have to focus on one for a certain amount of time until they feel stable in that progress or in that journey. Where I be disagreeing with, what I be disagreeing with is when people talk about how like just avoid all contact with women. That sounds a little sus. That's where I draw the line. Pursuing your goal is one thing, because I've had to cut out women in the time that I give to women, to pursue my goal, to increase my following, to network, to do what I need to do on an everyday basis as a content creator and stuff like that. I think did I say the warrior? I think I said the warrior, but yeah, the warrior would definitely be a alpha male archetype. Even my thuggy with the knowledge I read on the thuggy, and learn the art of deceit and concealment like an assassin. The assassin will be an alpha male archetype. Definitely the assassin. Now, there's an archetype called the thief, right, or the smuggler. That's when you're dealing with like Han Solo in Star Wars. Han Solo is a smuggler. Of course, you might deem that to be beta, but it could be alpha as well. Not to advocate people stealing things and all the other type of stuff, right? But there is a way you can go about that archetype, for the better in your own life. Han Solo is that nigga. Han Solo is indeed that nigga. He is him, and him is Han. Okay, next question is Christian pastors predicting your life. Oh, I said questions and topics, right? I don't really have anything to say about this other than I've had pastors predict my own life. I've had pastors tell me, I need to give me some water. I've had a pastor tell me that I was destined to be a preacher. We all know how that turned out. But there are pastors out here who be predicting on people's lives, prophesying and stuff like that. And some pastors do have the gift of prophecy. Some pastors do have the gift of being a visionary, and they have shifted that gift or that connection through religion, things of that nature. So, Christians predicting your life, Christian pastors predicting your life. Sometimes it is a little bit of dogma. Other times it could be like they see a gift in you, but they have filtered your purpose in that gift through religion. So like for me, the pastor said I'm going to be a preacher, right? But that was the filtered prophecy or the filtered message for me is like I have I have a teacher archetype about me, right? I don't consider myself a teacher, but evidently I can set things down. I can break things down better than the average person. So it is what it is. Somebody said, can you tell me what omnism is again? Gladly. So for those who, first time comers on my content on my platform, you may see my name and be like, what the hell is omnist? So I am the omniest realm, right? So the way I look at omnism, first off, omnism by definition is basically somebody who sees the truth in all different forms of religions or spiritual systems, right? The way I look at omnism, I use this analogy of you going to school and you have to learn different curriculums to elevate to the next level. So I look at different spiritual systems or different philosophies and stuff like that, different ideologies, and I learn from them individually, and I take what I could get from those, ideologies or philosophies or religious or spiritual systems, and I take those things and I apply it to my own life. So Omnism is not a religious stance, it's more of a philosophical stance. So there you have it. Somebody said, why are you currently talking about Jesus so much? I talk about Jesus. I've been talking about Jesus more prevalently or more recently, more frequently. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. I've been talking about Jesus more frequently because there's a clear relation with black people and Jesus. And if I can't get black people to discommunicate from understanding, or if I can't get black people to completely discommunicate from the character Jesus, the best thing that I can do is actually give them like the actual information on who and what Jesus is. You know, so things of that nature. That's why I talk about Jesus so much, so that people can understand that they are Jesus. Somebody said, what are archetypes? Archetypes are just different personas within yourself. So you have all the gods and goddesses, as Joseph Campbell said, all the gods, all the goddesses, all the heavens and hells dwell within you. So there's no God that has been painted. There's no God that hasn't been formulated. If you want to deal with Marvel and DC Universe, there's no DC or Marvel hero or villain that didn't come from the human mind. Okay? That didn't come from the soul or spirit of man or woman. So all the gods, all the goddesses, every hero and villain that you've ever encountered or have made known or that you have acknowledged, they dwell within you and they are a reflection of you. Okay? So you can invoke the Hulk in the gym if you want. You can invoke the Hulk when you about to get in a fight. You can invoke Tony Starks when you want to be a businessman. You can invoke Bruce Wayne when you want to do combat and martial arts. These things, they vary. They most definitely vary for the individual. So archetypes are just personas within the individual, within the human. Okay. So all of us, we have different aspects of ourselves. You know, some of us, we're sneaky, and then we want to be playful, and then we want to be serious, and then we want to be charming and seductive and all this type of stuff, right? So we have different personas or different faces that we like to invoke and embody within ourselves. What's good, Infinite Heather? Is he coming back? Oh, you're talking about Jesus. Is he coming back? Jesus is coming back. I was trying to make a joke out of it. I can't find no joke right now. No. Hell no. He's not coming back. I hate to burst some Christian bubbles who might be in here. Walk on water, turn the water into wine, heal the sick, raise the dead. Homie was an X-Man. Anakin Skywalker was born of a virgin mother too. He definitely was born of a virgin mother. Anakin was that nigga too. And I love Star Wars. If y'all didn't know, I'm a Star Wars fan. I've almost been doing this for almost an hour. Well, I guess I have been doing this for a little over an hour. Just Lee, what's good? Let me hurry up with these questions so I can give you something to eat. Someone said, what is your obsession with Satanism and demons? Asking genuinely. Well, Satanism is just what works for me. Okay. And let me make a disclaimer that Satanism is not a real religion. It's an ideology, it's a concept, right? But Satanism is not a real thing. It's merely been made up for about 50 years, almost 50 plus years, 60 years. It was more so of a slang by Christians where they deemed stuff to be demonic or satanic, and people took it and was like, you know what, let's turn it into something. So that's where you get Satanism and all that other type of stuff. On a philosophical, or if you want to deal with this on an like a ideological ide. I'm not even gonna try to say it from an ideal perspective. Ideological. That's what I was trying to say. Dealing with the basis of the idea of Satanism. When you deal with the root word Satan, it means the adversary. The one who opposes, the opposer. So Satan is not a character. Satan is a term. It's a title. So to be Satan means to be the rebel, the revolutionary. I remember people, they were getting at me hard. Like they were coming at my head because they were talking about I can't compare the revolution to Satanism. But if you look at some of the images of Lucifer, there's an old image of Lucifer with an afro. And Lucifer is the rebel, right? And when you look at the revolutionary movement, with like Lucifer has an afro, and everybody was throwing their black fists up in the 70s with their afros and stuff like that to fight against the system. That's what Lucifer did. He fought against the system. Lucifer was the first black revolutionary. Well, maybe Prometheus, if we're going to be frank. Prometheus, the first black revolutionary, but same person, basically. All right. So, yeah, Lucifer was the first black revolutionary. Boom. But I don't have an obsession with Satanism. I have an admiration for Satanism in the terms of the ideology of like being the adversary. In terms of demons, if you just go back to the root word of demons, you get demians, jinns, which are divine creatures, divine magical beings. Jinns coming from the genie, the jinn, becoming the genius. It just goes back to your psyche, the intellect within man. Okay, so you utilizing your thoughts, your darker side, your shadows, your impulses, and acting on your impulses, the demons. It's nothing bad. If you really go back to these terminologies that we use, demonic, evil. If you turn the word evil around, you get live. You deal with the word Satan, you get adversary, you get the word demonic, and you get divine, godlike, genius, genie. That's all it is. It's just talking about your black self, the black head, the black head, as in the wise one, the mastermind. That's one of the ancient words, the black head, for somebody who was genius or an intellect. The black head, that goes back to Baphomet. Been tapping into that jinn energy lately. Next question. Ooh, we're gonna skip that one. That's inappropriate. I don't think we have the time to talk about that one either. That's for after dark. Somebody said, when will you stop sexualizing black women? Well, when they stop looking so goddamn good. Anyways, next question. When will you stop sexualizing black women? Nobody be sexualizing black women. And first off, there's nothing wrong with sexualizing. Everybody sexualizes. When you see a nice girl walking across the street, and she walking with that nice sundress, what's the first thing pop into your head? Pussy. That's the first thing that, like, damn. And for the fellas, we're not gonna act like we don't be perceiving. Like some of our imaginations might go a little too far. Sexualization is a part of nature. Okay, asking me these religious Puritan questions in here. Somebody asked, "Are you a man hoe?" I plead the fifth. Next question. What's your Cash App so I can support your movement? That's in my link tree. So for those who want to like support my content or support this platform, you know, you want to give your donations or you want to give me a little shmoney, to support my platform and my content and stuff like that. Hit your cash out. $ Rome Productions with a ZTM. All right. My cash app will be in my the link in my bio, or I guess I could put it in the comments. But if y'all want to support my platform and stuff like that, I'm not begging, please, okay, yes, yeah. No, I ain't doing all that. But like, for those who want to support, you know what I'm saying? It's highly appreciated. What's good, Ace? What's good, Black Slim? Every girl I've been with always asked, can I wear this or that? I'm like, whatever makes you feel comfortable. Exactly. I don't be caring. I've been out on dates with girls like, you would think they were hoochie mamas. I've been out on dates with girls like back in ATL. You would think these girls were some hoochie mamas, but the girls were looking nice. I ain't care. I ain't even flinch. I'm like, girl, you looking good. Got this just strutting. Even though we're walking in Ruby Tuesday, but you looking good. One thing about like some women, one thing they gonna do, it don't matter if they just going out to a regular restaurant, they gonna strut. Exactly, they felt comfortable with me, and why wouldn't they? I'm Tyrone. Why wouldn't they? But anywho, that's my cash app for those who want to support, you know, my movement. Somebody said, do you have a course or an ebook that I can learn personal steps in my spiritual journey? Should I make a course? Now in terms of the ebook, I'm looking into that. I'm actually currently looking into stuff like that, but should I make a course? I don't even know if I should make a course. I know there's some course apps and platforms out there where you can make your own course and people can support and stuff like that. I don't know. Make like a individual course, like a step by step for people to actually just get into the fundamentals of like spirituality, where people can learn like you don't have to subscribe to any religions or spiritual systems or terms and stuff like that. You can just be you with the knowledge. You know, stuff like that. I don't know. I'm gonna look into that. Y'all let me know if I should make a course and stuff like that. I'll do that. Was that all the questions? There was another question. Here it is. Okay. Someone says, is humbling your ego or relinquishing power to an unknown creator necessary to be considered a god or being used by God? By humble, I mean knowledge that something outside of your flesh is helping in creating your reality. Okay, let me read that again. Is humbling your ego or relinquishing power to an unknown creator necessary to be considered a god or being used by God? You don't necessarily have to humble your ego or relinquish any power to anything outside of yourself in order to get stuff done or manifest your own reality. Everything just has to come into alignment of your higher self aligning with your lower self or your beast self, basically. So you don't really have to humble the ego. I know in like ancient texts, like especially if you read like the Vedas or like Hindu texts or Hindu, when you learn from Buddha or when you learn from Jesus, they tell you to crucify the flesh, right? Or take up your cross, or get rid of the ego, you know, all this type of stuff. And it's extreme when you really learn the basis of like spirituality, because you're not supposed to crucify all your carnal desires. To crucify your carnal desires is so that you can resurrect the beast, or so that you can utilize that lower self or that beast self to your advantage. So, getting rid of the ego or canceling out the ego is so that you can rebirth the ego or renew the ego to work in your favor. So instead of you having an ego where you're like the Scrooge and you think you're better than everybody, you actually project that you are the great one, and then you resonate that greatness to other people so that they can also be great. So that's the whole thing about, let your light so shine that men may see, your good works and glorify the Father, that type of thing. So that's what it's talking about. So you don't have to relinquish your power to anybody. Just empower yourself, basically. Now, getting to the last comment, which isn't really a topic or a question, but this woman says, it's one thing to be sensual and there's another thing to be overly sexual. And I think you're confusing the two. Not everybody is supposed to be, not, okay, let me read that again. It's one thing to be sensual. It's another thing to be overly sexual. And I think you're confusing the two. Not everybody is supposed to see what you're working with, and not everybody is supposed to really know that you are a wild woman. Most of these females are doing this for attention, the attention that they didn't get from their fathers. All right, well, let's break this down. How about mastering the ego, learn the ego, and use it when necessary? That's exactly what it means. Yeah, that's exactly what it means. Okay, so for those who don't know, I am a big advocate for the wild archetype. Okay, now the wild woman archetype, it shows itself in many different ways, right? Even in some ways where I'm just personally like, the hell? So the wild woman archetype has different ways of expressing itself. Even when you might think it's a little bit unsettling, the spirit has no limits. It has no standards when it concerns like how it should be expressed, even when you might think it's a little chaotic. So a perfect example is this character in the movie Babylon. There's a woman in this beautiful red dress, right? And she comes into the scene of the movie in a car and crashes into the fountain in front of the big house. It is ridiculous because off back you already know this is the wild woman archetype in this movie. And throughout the whole movie, they're always telling her like how she needs to like deal with her character, how she needs to talk in front of people, and how she needs to carry herself, when at heart she's a wild woman, right? At heart she's wild by nature. Now there's a flip side and there's a downside to the wild woman archetype, right? Because if that wild fire is not controlled, you can be consumed in your own fire. All right, so to be the wild woman is not a excuse or a pass to be reckless. All right, so it's an archetype. You learn from the wild woman to be courageous, to be outgoing, to be your own person. You don't actually go out here burning down houses and messing people over because of your personal feelings and how you might feel in the moment. That's not the purpose of the wild woman archetype. The extreme of the character of the wild woman archetype is just so that you can learn that you can stand out, or you can speak up for yourself, or you can defend yourself, or you can show out and stand out if need be. So that's what the wild woman archetype is. And it's not even whether or not people are supposed to see your wild side. And I think even within that type of response is the irony in that. And it just proves the point of the wild woman. The wild woman doesn't care who sees. The wild woman does not care who sees her wilding out, because she's a wild woman. That's the whole point of the archetype, is that she stands out in front of everybody. And even when the most uptight and uprighteous folk deem her as an outcast, She does not give two F's. All right. Anyways, I think that's about it. I know we have another question in here. Oh, we got a, whoa. Oh, I could have just went, my stupid self. I could have literally just went to the questions here. Hold on. Look at this. All I had to do was just go from the questions from the story. I'm over here. I'm doing too much. I'm doing the most. I over here got my computer and everything. Well, you can't blame me for going above and beyond. Can't blame me for going above and beyond. Anyways, wow. Okay. Anyways. All right, so let me close out on my podcast. All right, but that's all that I have to say for today. Thank y'all for the Q&A. Hopefully you got something out of the Q&A. Maybe you learned something that you didn't know. If you have some questions personally that you would like to ask me as well, you can hit me up on Instagram at the Omnist Roan, or you can leave them if you're watching this on YouTube in the comments below. All right, share this with somebody, like the video. And until next time, why does my voice keep breaking? And I wish I had me some water with me. Anyways, until next time, we out.
The waves brought me a song in the night that spoke in the softening light, words of a lonely one, unknown, caught in the darkening sea, whispering mysteries. Where can that poet be? Remote from my castaway island, he lets his poems drift on the sea, immersed in the warmth of the current.